Okay, let's set up the volume field on the D-Lev. The volume field is actually more difficult to set up, particularly for people that use traditional volume sense where farther is louder. When you're used to an analog theremin, usually the pitch field is very rather tight. This is an octave, and when you have a tight pitch field like that, you end up sitting in a sit-stand chair, or you end up lowering the entire theremin and sitting in a chair. And it's mostly for the tight pitch field, which is why I kind of advocate for a looser one, because I can stand here and play and it doesn't really, I don't have any problem. But with a tighter pitch field, I have a lot of trouble. I have a lot of trouble standing still. And if you watch any theremin videos, you'll see people like standing there like statues and just not moving at all, hardly breathing. And it's because the pitch field is so tight. But that's the pitch field. But the pitch field tightness, I think, spills over into the volume side. And so when that's tight, people end up sitting, and then their knee ends up underneath the volume antenna. And so that's a body capacitance that you sort of have to take into account. And that can be confounding because, a lot of times you're playing with your hand far away from the loop to get the maximum volume, and then your knee's right there underneath. So it's a tougher kind of situation to set up for. Then that's why I kind of like closer is louder, because like when you're your hand can be way out here or here, and you're still getting like 0 dB, and then minus silence. You're getting silence out here. And if you want more silence, you just get, move your hand out, and it doesn't really mean anything. And when you get your hand closer, it gets louder. And 0 dB, the loudest point, is a very easy thing to set when you're using reversed volume field. When closer is louder, you know exactly where the maximum point is. But we're not setting up for that. We're setting up for traditional volume, where farther is louder. So let's do that. So hopefully you've seen the pitch setup before this, the pitch field setup before this, and this is just a continuation of that. So we're going to do an autocal. All right, so we just did an autocal, and you need to do that while your body's in playing position, not off somewhere. All right, so let's go to the V field page. Now we're just going to be adjusting. Well, let's go to the volume page. Now we need to turn off the knee, and the way you do that is press the knee button, the knee encoder, and that should zero it out. If you got like significant velocity on there, you want to zero that out too. If you got significant rise or fall times, they don't matter so much, but it wouldn't hurt to like just zero out everything on this page. That way, nothing will interfere with the volume response. We want to just see the raw kind of volume response. All right, so let's go to the V field page. Now on this page, we're going to do the same three adjustments: VCal, sense, and offset plus. All right, so we've got traditional set to 1, so like farther is louder, right? But you'll see here, even if I put my hand on the plate, the volume LEDs don't go out, right? So we need to make the volume LEDs go out when our hand is pointed right down at the antenna. So what I'm going to do is adjust OFS plus until the LEDs turn off. See, okay, so now the LEDs are out, right? So you can see that, if I raise my hand up just a little bit, the bottom LED starts coming on. So that's what we want. So now what we do is we look at this near field response. We move our hand up until the LED is just about to come on, and then we close our hand. And what we want to see here is about 1 LED from the open and closed hand. You can move your hand like here, you can move it down a little, you can move it up a little bit to see whether you're really at the threshold or not. And it looks like we're not. Looks like we're a little bit above the threshold. So I'm going to turn the sensitivity down. Right now it's 73. I'm going to turn it down So that 71 looks about right for that. Now we're going to check from 3 LEDs on to 4 LEDs. We're going to go up to the top of the field here. That looks pretty good. Now that's influenced more by VCal, just like in the pitch field. The farther away you are, the more the VCal or PCal kind of influence the size of the field. So let me mess it up. I'll go. It's 22 right now. I'm going to really lower it. Here, let me make it really big, and then that's probably easier to see. You can see that it's way out here now, and it's not 1 LED at all. So I'll turn it back down some to like 27 about. All right, so that's kind of hard to see because it's off the top, and you don't have another LED that you can see, lighting up a little bit. So we'll go to the one below it now. We'll go here. We'll go from 2 LEDs to 3 LEDs. And that looks actually pretty good. All right. So, but, and we can still turn the bottom LED off by getting really near the plate. So you can go through and you can check, just like we did on the pitch side, you can go through and kind of check to make sure that the same hand movement is giving you the same kind of range here. It looks to me like the top is still kind of expanded, especially here. It's not, so it needs less VCal. So I'm going to go from 27 maybe to 24. That's better. Okay. So the same hand movement anywhere in the field gives me the same response, which is like the definition of linearity, or my definition of linearity. All right, so we got VCal at 24, we got sensitivity at 71. All right, so now to get maximum volume, you'd have to move your hand like up to here. And to get minimum volume, you'd have to move your hand all the way down to here. And you really want maybe even less volume than that with all the LEDs off. Probably not, that's minus 48 dB, that's pretty quiet. But you'd have to put your hand right on the plate to get that kind of silence. And you'd have to move your hand all the way up here to get full volume. And you don't want to be, doing that. So, well, you might for some voices, but generally you don't want to be doing that. So what we'll do is we'll move this maximum volume point down to a comfortable height. And I'd say maybe around here. And we'll do that by adjusting the OFS plus knob, right? So what I'm doing is I'm increasing it until all the LEDs come on at the location that I want it to be maximum volume. Maybe about there, 65 maybe on my Theremin. So we're looking for really the range of just the top LED going from off to full on. Right, that's kind of the range that's the range I like to play with. I like to have some range here that gives me expressiveness, but below that we can expand these bottom 3 LEDs away using the knee. So now, let's save this because it's a system. So we'll go back to the system page. It's a system preset or anyway, profile. So we'll hit store and then press store again. So now we've saved the volume field setup. So now we go back to the volume page. No, let's go back just to the main page and reload our preset. So I went from 7 to 8 and then back to 7. Actually, let me put it on 1. I like that one better. So what that did is it reloaded our knee. The knee is per voice preset. So now we go to the volume page and we look. We have K-Loc at 45. We have knee at 9, and we have a little bit of velocity. Mainly you're looking at the knee strength, the K-N-E-E knob, this one here on the volume page. So let's see what that does. You can see that we can now get 0 volume with our hand not quite at the plate. You can always increase if you want. Watch what happens when I increase the knee strength. Like I'll turn it way up. See how it goes down? See? I'm not moving my hand at all. I'm just changing the knee strength. So you generally want some knee, particularly in like human vocals, and most sounds, you benefit from some knee. So you might have to go through all the presets and set the knee the way you like to play. You'll have some expressive room here, but then you want it to like turn off probably pretty quick. So knee 11 or 12 or maybe more, for just to get it to quiet down when you get your hand near the plate. I like to have about the same amount of movement up here for just the top LED, from full on to full off, as I do for from there to like full silence. And what does that sound like? It sounds like this. So see, we have this expressive region, but then below that, we can turn it off. If you want the expressive region larger, then on the volume page you would make K-Loc smaller, because that would give it, K-Loc at maximum reduces the expressive range to almost nothing. And K-Loc, a lower K-Loc will set the knee location at a lower volume, where it kicks in and out. So the knee strength is the size of the kind of the on-off kind of section of the lower 3 LEDs, and K-Loc kind of sets where this threshold is. But I like to set it up so that, like I said, the first 3 LEDs aren't a big hand movement, and then the top LED is about the same as the bottom 3. So, but you should set it up however you like to. I mean, Theremin's vary quite a bit here, and you should experiment with it and not just do what I'm doing. But I think what I'm doing is probably a good starting point for you to jump off from. Okay, I guess one other thing I wanted to say was, one thing I want to do is show you the new software feature, and this was just added. So when you play with the traditional volume sense, farther is louder, auto calibration is kind of a problem. It really isn't when you play non-traditionally with closer is louder. When you do an auto calibration, you need to have your hands back at your body, but then the thing is going to make a lot of noise. You're going to put your hands back at your body, and it's making a lot of noise, and you don't want your audience to hear that. So, and you don't want to hear it either. So this has been a feature in it for a little bit. When you do an auto cal, it automatically mutes, right? But the newest feature is if it was not muted when you started the auto calibration and then it did the mute, when you put your hand near enough to the volume plate to turn out all the LEDs, it will unmute. So if you watch this center LED, see it's off right now, so it's muted. If you watch me move my hand so that the blue LEDs go out, watch the middle LED. See, it came on. So this allows you to auto mute during ACAL and auto unmute after ACAL if you use traditional volume sense. It does the same thing even if you use closer is louder, but you don't really notice it because it's kind of masked by the procedure itself. I mean, when your hands are away, it's all the LEDs are out, so you won't really see the unmute happen. Or, well, you will see it happen, but it's nothing you physically have to do because you're already doing it. So I'll show that to you again. So say I play with traditional volume sense and I do an auto cal, that muted it and it's done. And then if I want to unmute it, I just put my hand here. Do it again. Okay. Unmute it. So it's a neat little feature. Vincent came up with that one. Thank you, Vincent. All right, I think that's it. Bye.